Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking your time to join us. My name is Connie Liu. I am part of the venture growth team here at Seed Invest. We have with us today HelloMD co-founder and CEO Mark Hadfield. He'll be talking about the company's product vision and growth plans. After he goes through the investor pitch deck, he'll be taking questions from you. So if you have any specific questions for him, feel free to type it into the right-hand side panel that you see on your screen, and feel free to type the questions in as the presentation moves. With that, Mark, I'll let you take it away.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, great. Well, hello, everybody, and thank you all for joining this morning. It's such a thrill to be able to present to such a large audience. My name is Mark Hadfield. I'm the CEO and co-founder of HelloMD based in San Francisco. And we're building something really exciting here. It's the nation's largest marketplace for medical cannabis users, also known as the Amazon of cannabis, which I know is a big, audacious statement, but I'll explain as we get down into the pitch here why we think we are uniquely positioned to execute on such a grand vision as building the Amazon of cannabis. So this is important information for everybody to read. I'm not going to talk about it. So if this is your view of cannabis, you're not alone, but I'm here to tell you that the world of cannabis is changing quickly from what we call Stoner Dave to what we call the new faces of cannabis. These are sort of moms, dads, professionals, elderly people that are concerned about their health and wellness, in short, average Americans. And there really are millions and millions of them out there. If you look at the list of conditions at the bottom, 110 million people in America suffering with chronic pain, insomnia, anxiety, 40 million. And these are just some of the conditions. We've actually surveyed our patients, and there's about 18 different conditions that cannabis has proven highly, highly effective for. And so our hypothesis here at HelloMD is that the larger part of the market is yet to enter the market, and we see this happening every day with the people coming through and using our service, and it's incredibly rewarding. I'll tell you that as somebody who's worked in the software industry for a while. It's incredibly rewarding to be able to offer a service that really is helping people. Some of them very sick, some of them at the end of life, and some of them with just more mundane concerns like insomnia, maybe stress, etc., but nonetheless helping people. And so that's the target demographic that we're going after at HelloMD here. This has become an unstoppable international trend. It's now legal in 30 states across America, as well as countries like Canada, Argentina, Australia, and New Zealand are legalizing. Even my home country of South Africa recently legalized cannabis. Germany, it's now being paid for by the National Health Service. So it's an absolutely international trend underway. And it's also become what's known in the industry as the green rush as opposed to the gold rush. Forbes estimates that in 3 short years from today, we will have a $22 billion market for legal cannabis, and that's in the United States alone. And so there's definitely a huge amount of investment and growth happening right now. Now let's come to HelloMD. When a typical patient enters the world of cannabis and decides to start using it for their health and wellness, typically their journey starts with connection with a doctor. And so that's how we started our company. We started with a fairly simple service to connect a patient and a doctor over live video consultation using their smartphone, paid for by the patient, which is $49 per consult. And we saw immediate demand. We launched it 24 months ago. And we've almost been unable to keep up with demand. We're now open 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. and we just have constant patient flow coming in and connecting with doctors. But we didn't stop there. And what we found is that the doctor's consultation is great, but the world of cannabis is confusing because once people have what's called a recommendation, they then have lots of questions. Which products shall I try? How these products work for my medical condition? How will they interact with the other drugs that I might be taking? What about other products? What dosage should I try? People have endless questions, and there's also thousands and thousands of products available and new products coming on the market all the time. So what we did at HelloMD is we started creating resources for people. Resources like Q&A, threaded discussions where anybody can participate, video interviews with founders and product manufacturers, in-depth articles, product reviews, in short, everything all the resources that a patient would need as they explore the exciting and interesting world of medical cannabis. So that's all available on our website today, and I'd encourage you all to log in and take a look at it. What we found too is that our community has grown extremely quickly. I told you we saw instant demand. Our community has grown by two main factors. One has been a partner ecosystem of over 400 business partners on the retail, product, and delivery side that have partnered with us and integrated our assets into their own website and send us patients on a daily basis. And then the second strategy which we put in place was a strategy of user-generated content, which is really the holy grail of organic search, because what happens is your unique content grows and grows and grows in a very cost-effective fashion, and people find you online, and therefore your cost of customer acquisition tends to be very low, and in our case, almost zero, because we do very, very little advertising. So where we are today is 150,000 members approximately, and we're adding approximately 10,000 new members every month. And as I said, 15,000 unique pages of content is growing traffic to our website at between 15 to 20% every month. So we have a huge amount of headroom still to go as we grow the company. Revenue has also been strong. We've seen consistent growth in revenue since launch. In 2016, the end of the year is December for us, financial year, and we closed 2016 with $1.9 million in top-line revenue, all from that one single revenue line item, which is that doctor's consultation for $49 between patient and doctor. Of course, there's lots of ways to monetize a big community like this, but that's the only one that we've put in place thus far, and all of the revenue has been derived from California. And so where do we sit today? Well, what we really have is more than just a doctor's consultation services. We really have an ecosystem happening around HelloMD, an ecosystem which consists of the 150,000 registered patients, many of whom log in consistently to consume the information and engage the community, the medical community of doctors and nurses, the retailers, delivery services, and the people that work for them, as well as the product manufacturers and entrepreneurs, all engage in our website around these questions in promoting products and connecting with patients. So it's become very powerful, and as you start thinking as an investor of barriers to entry, this once you get an ecosystem like this underway and get to a certain level of traction, it becomes very, very difficult to displace by a competitor. So that's quite exciting for me as an entrepreneur. Okay, but here's the big idea, right? The cannabis market is incredibly fragmented today, and there's no national online retailer. So let's talk about the Amazon of cannabis. Who's going to be the Amazon of cannabis, and really what does that mean? Well, let me introduce you to the HelloMD product marketplace. And so this is a marketplace just like Amazon, where hundreds of retailers list thousands of products, their prices, and their availability. And as you can see, it's all live on our website today. You can find a product, you can do your research about whether it's going to work for you, and then you can see all of your purchase options and pricing. And as you can see on the right of the screen, today what we do is we just click visit seller, and it takes you to that seller's website. We don't charge any money for that. But what we're in the process of doing right now over the next few weeks is turning on the e-commerce capabilities of our website, whereby you will, as a patient, be able to also make a purchase of a product without leaving our website and have it either delivered to your door or pick up in store, whatever you choose in terms of your delivery option. And so this is our strategy, is to become the first national online retailer of cannabis, to leverage our ecosystem of doctors, patients, and sellers, and to grow our traffic and become the Amazon of cannabis, if you like. It's a big, audacious goal, and we think we're fairly uniquely positioned to deliver on it. Now, if we look at other companies' metrics in terms of value, what we see is that when you move from a content strategy up to a transactional model, the value of a user goes up exponentially. So to use two examples, Yelp, which is a content platform, the value of a user is approximately $25 if you divide the number of users by the value of the company. But as you look more like a company like Amazon or perhaps eBay or any other company that has transactions, the value of the user goes up exponentially to $450 or even more in the case of Amazon. And so you can do your own math, but once you get to a certain level of scale in terms of your community size, the company can quickly become incredibly valuable. So that, again, is very exciting, and that's one of the reasons why we're making this journey from content through transactions on our website. Now, there are other technical platforms out there that are also, well positioned and well able to execute. But we feel like we're pretty uniquely positioned because we cover all of the bases. We have the marketplace, we have the product SKUs, we have hundreds of retailers listing their prices and availability. We have the doctor's service, which is important because to participate in medical cannabis, you have to have doctors. We have the content strategy, in our case, user-generated content, which is driving incremental web traffic every single month. And we have the community, which is something we're going to continue to work on, communities around cancer, around chronic pain, around all sorts of different medical conditions, allowing people to engage with each other. So we feel as if we are uniquely positioned to be that national online retailer. Now, another really important criteria for investors is what is the team behind the company. Now, personally, this is my fourth startup. All have succeeded, and so I have the experience to deliver. We are a technology company at HelloMD. We're not a doctor's service. Our doctors are independent. We're a technology company, and the rest of the management team are seasoned executives from Silicon Valley with proven track records of delivering on growth. We have one of the top brand and storytellers from the marketing world. Michael Litchfield has a digital marketing background. Larry Lissa runs our partner ecosystem. He's based in Colorado. He's an incredibly strong deal maker. And Pamela Hadfield, my wife, does all of our design and UX, and she's an award-winning UX director. And we also have Dr. Solomon, who provides that medical oversight, deals with medical boards, manages our doctors, etc. Does also studies with the likes of UC Berkeley and others that we have underway. So we have a very strong management team. All right, so just coming to an end, I really would encourage you to make an investment, which you can do so on the Seed Invest platform. You can see the URL, which is seedinvest.com/HelloMD. There's also additional information on the company there for you. It's important to note that the company is actually cash flow positive right now, turned cash flow positive in January this year, and has remained cash flow positive up through April. Why are we raising money? We're raising money because we have a very ambitious strategy to grow across the other 28 or 30 medical states, to open in Canada, potentially to open in Germany and other countries as well. So we're raising money to invest in that growth, but we expect that we will emerge cash flow positive again during 2018, and we're targeting $18 million in top-line revenue at the end of 2018. So with that, I hope it wasn't too brief, but I would love to take some questions from the audience. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Mark. Really appreciate you taking the time to go over the presentation with us. And as a reminder again, especially for the guests who signed in a little late, you can ask Mark any questions you have by typing them into the right-hand side panel on your screen. And a number of questions did roll in as we were speaking, Mark, so we'll start with that. The first question is, does the 150K members mean 150K patients that have gotten a recommendation through HelloMD?
Great question. No. So that's 150,000 registered users, an additional approximately 10,000 registered users every month. Now, who are those people? Those are people that, in our opinion, are expressing intent to participate in medical cannabis. Of the ones that we've converted to actual revenue in terms of connecting them with doctors, the number is about 55,000, and we're adding approximately 4,500 new additional every month. But don't forget that people sign in from to our platform from, first of all, anywhere in the world, mostly the United States, but also Canada, but anywhere in the world. And not everybody is able to connect with a doctor today because we haven't deployed that service across all of the states yet. So it's somewhat limited to California. But nonetheless, it's about 55,000 to 150, which we still think is extremely strong. 1/3 of our registered users are converted to revenue, if you look at it that way.
Great, thanks, Mark. Next question is, despite state-level recognition of cannabis, what risk to your operations do you see with the current U.S. federal law and the current Attorney General and administration?
Yeah, that's a great question too. So, first of all, I'll tell you that nobody knows. This is a subject that comes up over and over in cannabis. Nobody really knows what's going to happen with the federal government. Clearly, we have an administration which is not as friendly as the previous administration. Let's call it that way. let's call it that. Now, as we think about HelloMD, if you think about all of the sectors in cannabis between growing plants, selling plants, refining and making products out of plants, and then a sort of recreational versus healthcare orientation, I would put HelloMD in the least risky sector out of all of those because we do not touch the plant, we don't grow the plant, we don't sell the plant, we don't touch any products at all, and we have a very clear health and wellness orientation, which President Trump has said he supports medical cannabis and is broadly supported by public opinion across the states, medical cannabis. So what we're actually seeing as we talk to our business partners is that a lot of them are sort of moving not away from the recreational orientation, but definitely feel more comfortable around the medical orientation. And HelloMD, the name of the company indicates we've always been a medical company. So it's not that we have no risk. This is a risky industry because it is in this gray area of federal legal and illegality. But we feel relatively good about the sector that we sit in comparison to everybody else. And the final point I'll make on that is to realize that this is not just not just an American issue. This is an international play that we have underway. In Canada, it is fully legal at both the federal level and the provincial level. We will be opening in Canada. It's a big, lucrative market for us, the size of California. There's Germany, there's other countries. And so even if it takes the US a little longer to get to full legalization, we still feel as if we have a strong play and plenty of room for growth, nonetheless, in many different ways.
Great, thanks, Mark. The next question is, when HelloMD turns on the e-commerce aspect of the platform, how much fees does HelloMD plan to take? Also, what is the estimated launch date for e-commerce?
Yeah, so the estimated launch date, we don't have a hard date, but I'm going to put it at 6 to 8 weeks away at the moment. We are busy working on it actively at the moment on the technical side. In terms of revenue participation, we will be taking approximately 10% of the product sales that we deliver through our platform. Now that compares to Amazon. Amazon takes approximately 15%. We feel that 10% is the right number, at least to start. So that's how we're going to participate in the revenue.
Great, thanks, Mark. And I'm noticing actually that a lot of people are having questions about deal terms, which is understandable. Unfortunately, due to regulations, we're actually not allowed to discuss that on the webinar. That said, Mark, actually, if you go back one slide to the one where the link is, if everyone visits this URL, seedinvest.com/HelloMD, you'll find details of the deal terms there, as well as if you scroll down to the very bottom of that page, you'll see a comment section. You can ask away any sort of deal terms that you want right there on the discussion board, and Mark and his team will be able to address it. The thought behind this is just so that everyone has access to the same information and no deal terms should be discussed where others can't have access to. So thanks for your understanding. And next question for you, Mark, is how will you handle delivery in Bay Area counties where it's prohibited? Will that limit your landscape?
Yeah, so it's important to know that we're not going to be doing delivery. So we use this analogy of Amazon very loosely. Obviously, Amazon does their own delivery. In our case, we're not going to be touching the plant. So we're going to be more of an e-commerce platform that sits above. And it's all geolocated. So as an individual, when you log on, you enter your zip code, and then you see products and information that are available to you, whether it's by delivery locally or whether it's by mail order, which is happening throughout California today, or whether it's in-store pickup, which is the law in some other states. And nonetheless, we'll show you that options are available to you. And so to answer your specific question, if you order a product that's going to be delivered, it will be delivered by the local resource, the licensed retailer that you've selected, that we've partnered with, and that's how it'll be happening. And we're not going to be partnering with everybody. We're going to be partnering with the companies that we feel, first of all, do a good job of representing our brand and appeal to our demographic, and also the ones that provide great products, great customer service, great pricing, so that we can ensure a certain level of service and support to our members. That's an important piece of the puzzle.
Great, thanks, Mark. And a lot of people are definitely having questions about touching the plant. So just to hammer it home, Mark, you guys will not be, quote unquote, touching the plant even with the e-commerce strategy, right?
Yes, we have no plans at the moment to touch the plant. That would put us into a different category. I mean, there's a real benefit in not touching the plant, and that is the ability to scale across national and international borders very quickly. So if we were a retailer who touched the plant, we would require a license to do so, and we may become very profitable because cannabis can be very profitable. But you also find that it's very difficult to acquire other licenses and to move to other states, and that's just why the market is so fragmented today between all of these different companies. But HelloMD's strategy is a technology play. It's going to scale quickly across national and state borders, and so I think it's important for us not to touch the plant. What's really critical for us is that we rapidly grow the biggest marketplace out there, and we're a demand-side platform. We want tens of millions of people interacting around their use of cannabis, around their healthcare on our platform. And in that way, there are so many ways that we can monetize that community because if you think about Amazon again, why do people sell on Amazon? It's not because Amazon has the best software. Yes, they have great software, but there's lots of other great software available. The reason people sell on Amazon is because that's where the customers are. And so that is our strategy, is to have the biggest, most engaged medical cannabis customer community, which we can then make available to retailers across state and national borders.
Great, thank you so much, Mark. Next question is, who do you see as your primary competitor? Why and how will you specifically surpass them?
So our competition is generally weak right now, probably because cannabis is somewhat of a protected sector. There's not that much investment from institutional capital. Some big companies are staying out. So I'd say it's relatively weak. Obviously, we do have competition. We have some competition around our doctor's consultation service, but I see those companies more sort of one-trick ponies. I don't see much in terms of a long-term strategy underway on the doctor consultation service competitors. We have some competitors on technology companies that are fairly well funded and have some momentum behind them. I put some of them, their logos were on the screen earlier, and those are better positioned to compete against us in the long term. But nobody really offers the mix of things that we have. Nobody has the user-generated content. Nobody has the fully moderated set of contents. In other words, there's no garbage on our website. You're not going to find a whole bunch of nonsense that would turn general Americans off of cannabis. It's all sort of validated, moderated medical Q&A. So I'm not sure if I answered the question, but we feel pretty well positioned to compete at this point. However, we also need to move quickly. That's why we're raising capital. You know, time is of the essence. Now is the time, and taking a leadership position in this market is going to be sort of a binary thing. You know, once a leader emerges that gets the bulk of the patients, the bulk of the retailers, the bulk of the medical community, all involved, it's going to be very hard to displace that. So it's really important that we continue to execute. We have a level of traction already, but we need much more traction, which we're planning on building over the coming year.
Great, thanks, Mark. Next question is, what is the rollout strategy to the other 28 states?
Yeah, so our rollout strategy, we're a very partner-oriented company. As I said, we have over 400 business partners. About 50% of our revenue and 50% of our patient acquisition comes through that business partner channel today. So our strategy hinges on the same two things that we've succeeded on in California, which is one, work with good business partners on the ground. We already have relationships underway with people in Canada, with people on the East Coast, and we're going to be announcing things in New York quite soon. And then the second part of the strategy is to continue with our strategy of user-generated content and grow the traffic to our website through organic search. There's nothing we need to do to make that happen. It's happening by itself. We just need to keep fostering it, to keep encouraging people to participate and make sure that they get value out of doing so. So that's generally the strategy for growth. And I will say that, you know, as we move into each other state, there is some slight alterations to our business model that we need to make. Each state has their own local laws, and it's important for us to remain compliant with the laws. For example, with the medical board, the state medical board, also with the medical cannabis laws that might be specific. They are slightly different, not hugely different, but slightly different from state to state. And so that's, again, part of the reason for raising capital. We just need some more people to make sure that we manage that process appropriately so that when we enter a state like New York with our partner, we remain 100% legal and compliant and we can adapt our platform as well as our business practices to remain compliant and deliver our service in those markets.
Great, thanks, Mark. Next question is, what are the components of the 18 million forecasted revenue in 2018?
Yeah, so that breaks down to five different components. There's California, there's Canada, there's the doctors service, so in other words, getting doctors onto the platform from other states, and then the final one is the revenue participation in product sales, and that's really the most important one, the most strategic, and the biggest revenue opportunity for us. So I'm not going to give you the percentage breakdown. We do actually have a financial model, I believe, posted at seedinvest.com/HelloMD, so you could take a look in there and see, how those assumptions come together to get to 18 million. Again, 18 million is not a budget; it's a model, a financial model, and once we've finalized our raise here, we will be putting a budget out and figuring out, which steps we're going to be making first. Amongst those various opportunities. As I said earlier in the presentation, there's lots of ways to monetize a big community like this, particularly because we're a B2B as well as a B2C community. And we've got to find the right balance between driving revenue to fund our growth, but also growing quickly and not putting artificial barriers in the way to participation. So that's a strategy that we have loosely figured out, but we're going to be tightening up as we close out our raise and start to execute on these new opportunities.
Great. Next question. How will the recreational market affect HelloMD?
Well, the recreational market is interesting. It certainly provides momentum. So, for example, in California, when in November, when they voted for Prop 64, the legalization of cannabis for recreation, we had on that day more traffic to our website than ever before, and we did more doctor consults than ever before. So, people, it's sort of counterintuitive. You may think, well, recreational will actually slow the growth of HelloMD because you can just go and buy it. Well, it's actually the opposite. The more legal it is, the more it's on everybody's agenda. It's less stigmatized. And again, our hypothesis here is that the bulk of the market is health and wellness, regardless of recreational laws. Just because you can buy something recreationally doesn't mean that you recreate with it necessarily. So if you're coming into the market because you've got backache, or you've got chronic pain, or you've got anxiety or stress, you are a medical patient regardless of the fact that you can buy it legally. And again, our revenue is not dependent on the medical side. We think that the doctor consult is an important piece of it. It'll always be there in terms of our offering, but it's not the bulk of our revenue future for the company. It's participation in the retail side of products. So again, we can do that on the recreational side. We can participate in the recreational purchase of products by retailers selling to those individuals as well. So I think the net is it's a positive for us, absolutely.
Great, thanks, Mark. Next question is, what marketing strategies are you going to use to reach people?
Again, I should say that what's worked really well for us will continue to work for us. So that's the primary part of it. But we also want to grow our brand with more traditional marketing strategies. I don't really want to tip my hand on this webinar, if you don't mind. We do have competitors, so I don't want to talk about all of them. But we'll be looking at traditional marketing strategies. When we started this company, it was very hard to market at all. You couldn't buy ads on Google, you couldn't buy ads on Facebook, you couldn't buy ads on Twitter. Now it's starting to open up a little bit. You still can't buy ads on any of those three platforms that I just told you about, but there are other channels. There's newspapers, there's radio, there's billboards, there's flyers. So, we're going to be looking at a traditional mix of advertising as well as the two strategies that we've employed thus far, which are, again, partner growth and engagement, as well as the organic search through user-generated content.
Great, thank you. Next question is, do you have legislative or regulatory people working on your behalf?
We work closely with the regulators. We don't employ them, of course, but Dr. Solomon, I mentioned, is on our team, and he is constantly interacting with the medical board and other medical boards. He's also interacting with some of the regulators in California who are in the process of drafting regulation. Prop 64 passed, which was the legalization of cannabis, but it hasn't been implemented yet. It's going to be implemented in January 2018. And it's the same thing in a lot of other states. There's Florida, for example, there's laws under discussion. The vote happens first, and then there's a lot of discussion about laws. And so we definitely do try to interact as much as possible. We're on the advocacy boards, for example, the CC, I believe it's called the CCI, California Cannabis Industry Association. We are a member, we attend their events, etc. So we try and keep as close as possible to the regulators. Of course, we're a small team, so there's only so much we can do today.
Great, thanks, Mark. So we only have time for a few more questions. That said, I know there are a number of questions that you guys have. Either way, I'm going to encourage you guys to type in your questions if you still have them and you haven't already, because we will be trying to send around a recap or highlight of some sort so that you guys get your questions answered. So next question, Mark, is can you elaborate a little bit more on expanding into Canada?
Yeah, sure. Well, Canada is incredibly interesting to us. If you look at the market breakdown in the United States by product sales, what you have is California is actually 50% of the total market in the United States. The next biggest territory beyond California is Canada, and Canada is about the same size as California in terms of product sales. So really the two biggest markets in the world for cannabis are California and Canada. Now, Canada has a different system to California. They have what they call licensed producers. I believe there's about 33 of them. It's also, again, federally legal. There's no illegality in Canada at all. And so as a result, the capital markets are open, the public markets are open. In Canada, investment is open, and there's some billion-dollar companies that have been created in Canada. In terms of us doing business in Canada, we're going to take our existing platform of content. We're going to launch it quite soon under a Canadian domain name. And we're going to be engaging in business in exactly the same way that we do in California, which is connecting people with doctors over video conferencing, making them legal medical cannabis users, and then connecting them with one of those 33 licensed producers and participating in the revenue of the retail of the product. So exactly the same way that we're going to be doing it in California. And it represents a very large opportunity for us. We're very excited about the Canadian opportunity.
Great, thanks, Mark. Next question is, does HelloMD have any plans of offering equipment such as vaporizers?
Absolutely. We're going to be offering the full range of equipment. So if you look at the product section of our website today, if you just go to HelloMD.com and then at the bottom there's a little menu called products. You can filter there by any type of product, whether it's an edible, a tincture, plant, etc. One of those categories will be and accessories, which would include vaporizers, other technical gadgets. I mean, this is one of the things about cannabis that is so interesting, is that there's just so much innovation going on. Every conference you go to, there's a new entrepreneur with a new piece of hardware, Bluetooth connected. It's really innovative and exciting. And again, we look at these things always through the lens of our customers. Would this product be appropriate for our customers? Would they be interested in it? And if we feel that's the case, we will certainly list it in our marketplace for sale. Absolutely.
Great, thank you. Next question is, do you see the risk of Amazon or Alibaba jumping in a year or two?
I really don't. There are all sorts of things that Amazon, I'm not going to speak for Alibaba, but there's all sorts of things that Amazon doesn't participate in. Like, for example, they don't sell cigarettes, they don't sell liquor, they do sell wine, they don't sell a bunch of other considered vice type products. And so I think cannabis, first of all, it's relatively small for a company like Amazon today. Secondly, it's complicated, it's regulated, and I don't see them selling cannabis anytime soon. I may be wrong, but I really don't think that's our primary competitive threat at the moment.
Thanks, Mark. The next question is, currently the marketplace redirects to the vendor. Will you handle the transaction, in particular the payment processing on the new platform?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand. The platform corrects to the what, sorry?
Currently the marketplace redirects to the vendor, and the question is, will you handle the transaction, in particular the payments on the new platform?
Yeah, I'm not going to talk to the specific strategy we have underway. I will say that banking is very, very complicated in cannabis, but just because of the federal illegality, and we have a strategy to deal with that, and we believe that our strategy is a good one, a secure one, one that will be perfectly transparent to our banking partners. and our banking partners are supportive of it already. But I'm not going to speak to the specifics of how we're going to manage it just from a competitive standpoint, if you don't mind.
No problem. And couple more questions left that we're going to try to get to. Again, I know a lot of you have questions. Keep typing them anyway, because we'll try to address them via follow-up. Next question is, who will be eligible to purchase from the e-commerce platform? All registered users or only users with medical cards from HelloMD?
Yeah, so it really comes down to the local laws. Again, remember I told you that it's geolocated. So the first thing it does in the platform is it asks you to confirm where you're located, your zip code, and then it shows you resources that are available to you in that location. Now, if you are in a location where there are medical laws in place, then you will need to be a valid medical patient with the medical board and the medical program of your state in order to make a purchase. Again, we're not going to do anything illegal. We're going to make sure that we are 100% compliant with the local laws in place. If, however, you are in a territory where recreational cannabis is legal and you don't need a recommendation, then you will be able to make a purchase on our marketplace without that recommendation as well. So, it really just depends on the local laws. And as the local laws evolve, we will evolve the platform as well and evolve the capabilities for individuals. So starting off in California, we're going to be launching before January 2018, which is when the recreational laws go into place. So initially, you will need to have a valid recommendation in order to purchase. But again, we've already got 55,000 registered users on our platform in California with doctors' consults and recommendations in place. So we have already made a group of customers that are fully able to make a purchase on our platform from day one in California.
Great, thanks, Mark. Next question is, could Big Pharma take over this industry?
Oh, that's a really great question. I actually just came back from Germany and I was visiting a big pharmaceutical with $5 billion in sales. And so I got some insight into how they look at cannabis, and I'm not going to speak for them for confidentiality reasons, but I will tell you that that analysts estimate that the pharmaceutical industry will enter cannabis not before it becomes federally legal at the federal level. So what needs to happen is Congress or the president or the DEA needs to reschedule cannabis from Schedule 1 to something else, and at that time, Big Pharma is likely, very likely, to want to participate. And analysts, I'll point you guys to a report by Acrel Capital. If anybody would like to email me, I'd be happy to send you the report. Analysts estimate that the pharmaceutical market will get as big as the recreational and medical market combined together, and the total market by 2029 is projected to be about $100 billion in sales. 50 billion on the pharmaceutical side, 50 billion on the recreational and the medical side. The way pharma enters is going to be different. They have to go through FDA, typical drug approval processes. The way they manufacture is probably going to be different. They don't necessarily manufacture from plants. Perhaps they'll be synthesizing their own cannabinoids. So that remains an open question as to how that market unfolds. One final point is there is some pharmaceutical participation already in the market. There's a company called GW Pharma. There are some pills that you can get. So there's definitely intent there, and we absolutely expect that pharmaceuticals will enter the market. Again, coming from our perspective, that's an opportunity. We feel if we get to a position when pharma enters, again, when the drug is rescheduled from Schedule 1 to something else, if at that time we have the biggest community, perhaps millions, perhaps tens of millions of people, many of whom have been diagnosed by their doctor, have given us their medical records, have bought products. We also have a huge amount of very valuable data and a very valuable community to offer big pharmaceuticals as they start to introduce products. So again, that's an asset that we have on the data side, potentially when that big event starts to happen.
Great, thanks, Mark. And the last question is, can you speak a little bit more about the delivery piece? How does that work in California?
Yeah, so in California, you have a lot of options for delivery. You can go pick up in a store. You can just walk into a store, but that takes time. You can have local delivery to your door, typically in 20 minutes or something like that, depending on who you're buying from. And then increasingly, you also have, it's not mail order, it's done through courier, but the net effect is the same, which is a package arrives at your door delivered by a person, a courier, and that happens anywhere in California. So in California, if you place an order on our platform, you have all of those choices available to you, including delivery to your door, next day delivery, which is Amazon type service levels. We already have business partners that do that successfully. So it's incredibly easy and useful in California. Delivery was just legalized in New York, as was chronic pain. So New York, albeit a small market at the moment, is opening up to be a very interesting market as well. And obviously, it's a big state. So again, it's interesting to us at HelloMD.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Mark. Really appreciate you taking the time to go over the presentation with us and answering all of our questions here. I also want to thank everyone for taking their time to join us today. Again, as a reminder, if you would like to learn more about HelloMD or download a copy of their investor deck, or if you have any questions that you want to ask about deal terms, you can go on seedinvest.com/HelloMD, the URL that you see on the screen right there. With that, thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thanks very much.